Welcome to today's Explainer, where we're literally unlocking the vault on your brain's creations. Have you ever wondered what separates a late-night brainstorm from a billion-dollar business? Well, it all comes down to how you navigate the complex but seriously fascinating world of intellectual property.
So, here's the roadmap for today. We're looking at the power of ideas, building your innovator's toolkit, figuring out who exactly owns your ideas, digging into a case study we call the stolen code, and wrapping up with the ethics of innovation.
All right, part one, the power of ideas. Imagine you've just coded a totally revolutionary app, or maybe sketched out a brand new engine design. That brilliant blueprint living inside your head? That's your intellectual property. Basically, we're talking about creations of the human mind that actually hold economic value. It's the legal bridge between a fleeting thought and a protected, valuable asset.
You know, we're all pretty familiar with physical property, right? The car you drive, the pen on your desk, or the building you live in. But intellectual property, it's a completely different beast. It is purely abstract. We're talking literary works, inventions, software code. It's invisible, yet incredibly valuable. And because you can't just put a padlock on it, protecting it requires a totally unique set of rules.
So, why does this all matter to you? Well, IP acts like a crucial shield. Not only does it stop people from just swooping in and copying your hard work, but it actively encourages technology transfer and brings in investment. Think about it. Investors want to fund ideas that are locked down and safe. IP creates an environment where your innovation actually gets rewarded. Moving on to part two, the innovator's toolkit.
Okay, let's open up your armory. You essentially have 5 main tools to protect your work: patents, copyrights, trademarks, trade secrets, and industrial designs. Now, if you're an engineer, a developer, or a creator, you'll really want to master those first 4. Those are the ones that are going to defend your daily grind.
Let's start with the heavy hitter, the patent. A patent is this incredibly powerful right granted by national offices for a new invention or process. When you hold a patent, you have the absolute power to block anyone else from manufacturing, using, or selling your invention without your permission. It is literally a wall around your idea.
But here's the thing, getting that protection isn't easy, and it certainly isn't automatic. Your invention has to meet some seriously strict criteria. First, it needs absolute novelty, meaning it's 100% original. And second, it needs non-obviousness. That means it wouldn't just be obvious to an average expert in your field. It has to be a genuine breakthrough.
And the crucial catch here is the number 20. If you get that patent, your protection strictly expires after 20 years. That shield is temporary. After 2 decades, your brilliantly protected invention enters the public domain for anyone to use. It's basically a trade-off. You get a 20-year monopoly, and in exchange, society eventually gets your invention for free.
Next up is copyright. Now, this is vastly different from a patent because a copyright doesn't protect the broad idea itself. It protects the specific expression of that idea. Think of your actual lines of source code, your highly detailed CAD designs, or the exact text of a paper you wrote. You've probably seen this visibly indicated with the copyright symbol, the date, and the creator's name.
Moving right along, we have trademarks. This is your brand's visual identity. We're talking logos, specific words, unique lettering, or even a distinct combination of colors you use to stand out in a crowded market. It's the thing that ensures a customer knows they're buying your genuine tech and not some cheap competitor knockoff.
Finally, there's trade secrets. Unlike patents, which are out there in the public record, trade secrets are kept hidden in the shadows. These are things like complex algorithms, formulas, or super efficient manufacturing processes. There's no formal registration for this. Instead, you protect them indefinitely by using strict digital security and ironclad non-disclosure agreements with your team. Basically, as long as you can keep the secret, the protection lasts.
All right, section 3, who owns your ideas? So you've created an awesome idea and picked your protection. But that brings up a really tricky question. Who actually owns the thing? Well, it depends entirely on the context. If you build it at a company while you're employed there, the company almost always owns the IP. If you build it during university research, it's usually shared ownership. But if you build it entirely on your own time, then it's all yours.
You do have to be super careful here, though. Pay close attention to this nuance. Simply using institutional resources, even if you're just firing up a university lab computer, using their testing gear, or jumping on their network for your side project, can automatically give that institution a legal claim to your IP. Institutional policies almost always say that if you use their stuff, they get a seat at the ownership table.
Which brings us to Section 4, the stolen code.
Let's see how this plays out in the real world with a high-stakes cautionary tale. Imagine you're an engineering student building a smart traffic signal system for a big class project. The system is incredibly complex, the deadline is right around the corner, so you quietly decide to borrow some proprietary code from a tech company to make it work perfectly. What happens next? Is it harmless just because it's for school?
Well, the legal reality is incredibly harsh. Using proprietary software without a proper license absolutely does not transfer ownership to you. The company still wholly owns their code. Even if you integrated it like a genius, you have zero rights to that borrowed foundation. At best, you might own the tiny little original components you bolted onto it, but the core system, that belongs to the company.
And look, stealing code, even if you're panicking over an academic deadline, isn't just a slap on the wrist. The fallout is massive. We're talking severe academic penalties, like a failed project or even expulsion. It damages your school's integrity. But more importantly for you, it completely ruins your professional credibility and creates massive roadblocks for your career. Oh, and not to mention the very real threat of a lawsuit for copyright infringement.
And that leads us perfectly into Section 5, the ethics of innovation.
Because IP isn't just about the law, it's about integrity. Global engineering standards strictly demand that you innovate responsibly. Organizations like the IEEE and IEB have codes of ethics that mandate total respect for copyrights, patents, and trade secrets. You are professionally bound to avoid misusing proprietary resources, preventing plagiarism at absolutely all costs, even if it's just for a quick prototype or an academic paper.
I really want you to remember this crucial rule. Intent does not justify unethical means. Even if your goal is purely to learn, to push the boundaries of technology, or to innovate for the greater good, good intentions never justify stealing someone else's intellectual property. Ever.
So as we wrap up this explainer and you head back out there to build the next big thing, ask yourself, are you innovating responsibly or are you simply borrowing someone else's spark? Where exactly is the line between taking inspiration and taking ownership? Master your toolkit, protect your creations, respect the creations of others, and let your own original ideas change the world. Thanks for hanging out with me on today's explainer.